How to build a life you don't need to escape from. Wellness that lasts. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. This show is proudly sponsored by Rumble and Rise. To find out more about joining Rumble and Rise, head on over to graceandgrit.com/ready to rumble. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. Many years ago, I worked with a client named Erica. She was wildly successful in her career. She was really accomplished in most areas of her life, and she was really respected and loved by the people around her. And she could not for the life of her figure out why she kept sabotaging her health. She'd start strong, as so many women do, but then after a few weeks, she'd fall off completely. And we tried everything. We tried a lot of things, and nothing seemed to stick. Now, to be fair, as a coach, I also feel like I was a little immature at the time. I was really approaching health from the aspect of only physicality. I was focusing on helping her build muscle mass and improve her nutrition and build better cardio capacity. And I wasn't really addressing the wholeness of her humanity, which was clearly a problem. I didn't know it was a problem until one day she said something that really changed everything. She said, "I feel like I am trying so hard to take better care of myself, Courtney, so I can keep living a life that is slowly killing me." And there it was. It was like this light bulb went on where it became so clear that her body was not the problem. Her life was the problem. She was in a job that was draining her. I mean, even though she still had interest in her career, the amount of energy she was giving to it was draining her and really depleting her. She was in a relationship that just felt empty and very disconnected. And she had a daily routine that had absolutely no room for joy or presence or stillness or calm. And the self-sabotage wasn't sabotage, because it never is. I've always said I've never worked with a woman who is intentionally trying to hurt herself. That's what sabotage is, and I've never seen that to be the case. What she was interpreting as sabotage was really her body rebelling against an unsustainable existence, an unsustainable way of life. And she was doing a lot of things to try to escape that life. And you cannot out-exercise or out-discipline your way out of that problem. But man, do we try. This is the conversation that I constantly say we don't have enough of in the wellness industry. I talk a lot about this in The Consistency Code, my book, that we tend in the wellness industry to focus on goals, on results. We focus on habits and routines, but we rarely ask, am I trying to build stamina to survive a life I don't actually want to be living? Because that calls you into very different work. And if you use food and alcohol or scrolling social media or shopping or a million other vices to cope with your daily reality, no amount of willpower is going to create lasting change for you. You'll always revert back to those behaviors because they're serving a purpose. They're helping you to tolerate the intolerable. They're helping you to tolerate a life that doesn't fit anymore and maybe never did. So building a life you don't need to escape from means getting radically honest, of course. And radical honesty asks questions like, what's draining me? What's feeding me? What's actually nourishing me? What needs to change? What really needs to change? And when you ask these questions, you've got to look at them through the lens of your actual days, your actual life, not your someday life. What does a typical Tuesday look like? Where are the moments of ease in that day? If there aren't any, man, that's something to notice. Where are the moments of resentment? If you feel like that makes up most of your day, again, that's something to notice. For many midlife women, we've built lives that look successful from the outside, but feel hollow on the inside. We've said yes to so many things that we've lost touch with what we actually want and what we actually even need. We've become strangers to ourselves, and then we wonder why we can't stick to a morning routine. It's not because we're broken, but we've exhausted ourselves from living lives that simply don't fit. And look, I know you hear this and we kind of panic, right? Because there are some things that you know really need to change, but they feel so big that it feels intimidating and scary and risky. But you can enter these waters in small ways. Maybe you can't quit your job, but you can stop checking your email at 7 p.m. every night. Maybe you can't change your relationship or heal your relationship with a loved one overnight, but you can start having hard conversations and asking for what you need. Maybe you can't eliminate all your commitments. I mean, come on, nobody can. But you can resign from maybe one committee or create one boundary to give yourself a little more breathing room in your day. Building a life you don't need to escape from is 1,000 small choices. When your life feels aligned, when your days have pockets of joy, and when you're not constantly living in survival mode, taking care of yourself actually stops feeling like another obligation. It feels like a want to, not a have to. There's an ease to it. I know this is a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, but wellness is not really built on discipline. It's built on alignment. So I want you to start asking the question. Actually, first I want you to stop asking the question, how do I get better at healthy habits? And start asking, am I building a life I actually want to be living? Because the answer to that question is everything. If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.